So one of the most discussed questions in the Blue Lock community right now is how good are the players that we haven't seen? Or an even better question, will we even see them at all? We all know them by now, characters from the second selection, maybe even mentioned at the start of the series, but probably one of the most foreshadowed characters in all of Blue Lock has to be Kiyora Jin. With him recently making an appearance in chapter 230 and potentially seeing him play in episode Nagi, I wanted to make a theory video on how Kiyora will play a huge role in the future of Blue Lock, maybe even as a villain or a huge rival for Isagi. If you don't already know, my name's Hiryo. I make a lot of other Blue Lock theories, lists, stuff like that. So if that interests you, consider hitting the subscribe button as it helps me out a lot. And we're on that grind for 10k. I also started streaming the new Blue Lock chapters here on YouTube at Friday around 10 to 11 a.m. PST. So if you want the earliest discussion and review of it, join those, or if you just want to discuss anything Blue Lock. And if you live in a different time zone or just want any notifications for the stream, join my community Discord for that. The link's always in the description. But without further ado, let's hop straight into why Kiyora Jin will play a huge role in the rest of Blue Lock. So if you don't already know Kiyora Jin, he was one of the new players introduced in the second collection, clearing with the team of Barou, Chigiri, Nagi, and Zantetsu. There were a lot of second select clears we knew nothing about, but amongst them, Kiyora kind of stuck out since he had a cool design, and also being on a team with players we all recognized. So I think a lot of people, including myself, were actually hyped to see him play. But like all the rest of the Blue Lock characters who clear the second selection, Kiyora didn't get developed at all since his introduction, not playing in a third selection, U20, and the NEL, and hasn't been mentioned all the way up until now. It's a sign of the times. We all thought we'd never see the day since Corona seemed to be the one chosen to get that development, but as we all know, in the recent chapter 230, Noah subs out of the star change system and chooses Kiyora to sub in for him based on numbers. But unfortunately, that day has to be another time, as Isagi comes in and personally asks Noah to keep Kiyora out of the game to sub Hiryo as it'll help him score the goal. This is crazy. Even Corona looks really surprised because you're basically screwing someone else over and saying that you won't win the game if he gets subbed in. But reluctant at first, Noah doesn't want to give Isagi any special treatment, but seeing that Hiryo is also motivated to play, he decides to let them get their shine, so it's back to the bench for Kiyora. But in the most recent chapter, chapter 231, we get the actual confirmation from Noah that he will play Kiyora in the next match, and until then to stay ready. Kiyora just says yes after a little delay, looking a little down or pissed. I mean, anybody would be in that situation. And then he just goes back to sitting down, and that's about it for now. But now that we have that confirmation and full context of Kiyora's situation, we can now start getting into the theory. Alright, so a few important things I want to take away from this which will support my theory is that Kiyora is a man of few words, his playstyle is a perfect replacement for Corona, there's obviously Isagi screwing him over by not letting him play in the game, and then the promise of being able to play in the next game. So with all those facts lined up, my personal theory is that Kiyora in the next game will actually support Kaiser instead of Isagi and the Blue Lock boys. Kiyora, again, is a man of very little words, and we don't know his thought process or whatever, but I think this is the theory that has the most evidence supporting it. So the first point I want to make is that it was already suggested way back in chapter 171 that they have two sides they could pick, Isagi's side or Kaiser's side, or the unconventional sticking out on your own that Kunigami is doing, and well, we all know how that's going. But given that Kiyora was in the room during the confrontation and didn't flat out say he was sticking to Isagi's side like Hiyori did, he could definitely consider teaming up with Kaiser. Especially with how Isagi acted in chapter 230, and how Kiyora seems a little ticked off just not saying anything. It's definitely leaning more towards the side of supporting Kaiser rather than Isagi. And we do know that he would have been a perfect replacement for Corona in the right wingback spot, so his skill set, playstyle, and weapons would fit that perfectly. But here's the thing that'll sell you on this on top of all those facts. Since Kiyora is confirmed to join the next game, and Isagi having his spot in the regulars on the line, Isagi and Hiyori will definitely prove their worth, and this sets up a perfect scenario for both Isagi and Kaiser. They would both have two people supporting them, coincidentally two midfielders and two wingbacks. It sets more of an equal playing field for both of them, it makes sense why Kiyora chooses Kaiser, and it fits in line with his character. Do you stick with the new girl or the toxic ex? This is pretty much the situation that's going on in my opinion. I think it's super important to know that Kiyora basically got a chance at a salary cut out because of Isagi, and personally speaking, if that was me, I would be so pissed. So by choosing to support one of the best players in the NEL, it could help him get that last second high salary. Ness has also been underperforming in the recent games, so with Kiyora helping them both, it would be easier for them to get through a stacked PXG team, and maybe even having a matchup against another Blue Lock player. You can see why I'm so confident in this theory now. Everything lines up, from Kaiser saying to choose him instead of Isagi way back when, and Kiyora actually hearing that, in fact literally being in the panel when Hiyori asked the question, to flat out just getting his revenge on Isagi and proving his worth. I think choosing Kaiser's side just makes sense. It also sets up that perfect 3-on-3 situation between them, Isagi and Kaiser both having two people in the same positions supporting them. And I think how it'll go down is that Kiyora, instead of supporting Isagi with a pass or something when he was in a good position, he decides to pass to Kaiser, who either scores or passes it back and Kiyora scores. Kind of similar to Isagi and Kunigami. His salary will then go up because he absolutely proves his worth by scoring against PXG, or shows that he's just a valuable support. Kiyora has a lot of potential as a character. I know a lot of people love him even though he literally hasn't played a single game. He's like that one side character you know from the show but has no correlation when it comes to the story, like that leg guy from SpongeBob, and even that guy got a whole episode around him eventually. And it would give the PXG game even more stakes and rivalries, which is always good to see. And literally, this game is so stacked. It's like a triple, quadruple decker sandwich. In fact, the PXG game has so much that I'm not sure how they're gonna cover it all. It might even be better than the U20, but that'll be a video for another day. If you guys enjoyed this theory, I'd really appreciate if you guys would hit that like button and commented down your thoughts on it. Do you think he'll join Kaiser's side and get his revenge on Isagi, or join Isagi's side to leave Kaiser with absolutely nothing? It is a really interesting topic, so I'd like to hear what you guys think. Remember, I always stream the new chapters on Fridays. You guys could join the Discord if you want any notifications for that. And we'll have the live reaction to the chapter discussion and just other Blue Lock related stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching to the end. My name's Hiryo, and I'll see you guys in the next one.